Tonight on the Daily Debrief.
All of these are inadmissible.
Defense attorneys for a man accused of murdering his daughter make a passionate plea to suddenly stop the trial. Did it work? Plus, a babysitter on trial for allegedly battering a child to death. We take you inside the interrogation room as she gives excuse after excuse. Also, more details in the college admissions scandal. An acclaimed actress is among several parents pleading guilty. We'll bring you the story. The nation's most fascinating cases are on the Daily Debrief. It's Monday, April 8th. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber in for Aaron Keller, and thanks for joining us. It's reckoning day for a set of elite parents involved in the college admission scandal that shocked the nation. Rachel Stockman has the story.
Not even a month after being charged, Felicity Huffman now says she's ready to admit her guilt. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Huffman is one of 13 parents and one former coach who will plead guilty to conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest services mail fraud.
We're here today to announce charges in the largest college admissions scam ever prosecuted by the Department of Justice.
Each charge carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, although it remains to be seen how much, if any, jail time any of the defendants will serve. Huffman is admitting to paying William Singer $15,000 to have her daughter's SAT scores secretly corrected. Huffman released a statement saying in part she is in full acceptance of her guilt, apologizing to students and parents who work hard to get into college honestly, and saying her daughter knew absolutely nothing of her actions. No charges were dropped by prosecutors as part of the guilty pleas. Actress Lori Loughlin, on the other hand, who is accused of paying $500,000 to have her daughters falsely recruited as rowers to USC, may still have to face trial. For the Law&Crime Network, I'm Rachel Stockman.
Wow, what a development. Strange theories, inconsistent statements, and explosive admissions all surround the trial of an Ohio babysitter accused of killing a young girl. Lindsay Partin is charged with murder, involuntary manslaughter, and 3 counts of endangering a child. The victim, Hannah Weshy, was just 3 years old when she died. Partin was babysitting her when the girl reportedly dumped ketchup in a toilet, which could be considered typical child behavior, according to the prosecutor. However, Partin allegedly decided to lash out, and according to the Butler County Sheriff's Office, she admits to hitting the child. Partin explained a source of her frustration: Hannah crying for her dad every morning when he dropped her off. And Partin says she shook Hannah after she cried for her dad the same morning she lost consciousness.
So you take her from dad, set her down.
He set her down first.
She's whining after dad.
Correct.
You pick her up.
Correct.
Close the door. Dad goes.
Yes.
And is that when you shook her?
How are you holding her when you shake her?
By shoulders.
Outside or
Yeah.
Was she standing up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know.
In front of her? You guys face to face?
Okay, so you're
Were
angry.
you angry?
No, not necessarily. Just frustrated because
Frustrated.
she knows that it's late and needs to go. And when he says that,
And it happens every morning.
not every morning, but quite a lot.
Enough to be frustrating?
Yeah, at this point, because she knows.
Right.
We've been doing this for a while,
Yeah.
you know.
How frustrated were you?
Not really that frustrated.
So how many times did you shake her?
How
How
long?
many seconds?
6 seconds.
I mean, just enough to where, Hannah, you know better than to do that. Why would you do that? Your dad's late. We can't do that. You know better than that. What are we going to do tomorrow morning?
Like until she's whining, until she stops whining.
Yeah. I mean, it was a...
You shook her until she stopped whining.
And I picked her up.
What did her face look like when you picked her up after she stopped whining?
Did she stop whining?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you picked her up.
Picked her up, grabbed her blanket.
Did she sit down or anything? So you shook her for about 5 seconds. You picked her up.
Mm-hmm.
And you walk in the house. That's when you noticed she was unconscious.
Yeah. Well, we fell. We didn't fall. I'm not lying about
How did you
that.
fall?
Because I slipped on the blanket and stuff. We didn't fall.
Snatch her up real quick and go in the house because you were angry still? Is that because you were
Yeah, how
falling?
did you fall?
Probably. Yeah.
A pediatric physician testified and said her medical findings brought her to the conclusion that Hannah was physically abused and that it allegedly happened on purpose.
And so, doctor, on March 8th of 2018, you made a specific finding, and what was that on March 8th, 2018?
My finding was, and I will actually read it if I can directly from my consultation note, and that is Exhibit 30, State's Exhibit 39. The diagnosis is definite child physical abuse, including abusive head injury.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not the types of injuries and what caused Hannah's death was accidental or non-accidental?
Yes, I do, and the answer would be non-accidental injury.
And specifically within the pediatric world, is there a diagnosis that goes along with that non-accidental, or a term that is used?
Non-accidental trauma, yes, there is a diagnosis of child physical abuse that is given.
Now, the babysitter's second interview with detectives was played in court. She describes a fall Hannah had, which she says caused bruising on Hannah's chin, neck, and chest.
Yep, that's exactly where she fell, and on her chin. She didn't even, her hand didn't even hit. Like, what she was doing, and I can show you how she was running like this, and then looked back and went like that. Literally.
Did she slide? Or?
No, it was just bam, bam. Yeah. She kicked and she got right back up and kept running. I said, "Hey, are you okay? I'm okay."
So all these small little bruises and the ones on the chin.
Yes, I know about those right there.
And even the one on the
yes, and the one on the chin. Yep.
And the neck.
Yep. That's all this.
From that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw
So, I mean,
the next. It was. Yes.
up under her chin like that, so
Well,
she would have been extended pretty far.
She went like that. Yeah.
Okay.
And on the toilet Wednesday, I noticed that I was like, "Wow, man, those rocks got you." And I even told him that. I said, "The rocks look like they punctured her chest."
Yeah.
But here's the thing. As the interrogation continues, detectives were able to pull answers from Partin. And if you're confused, you're not alone. Partin seems to let details of what actually happened slip through one at a time. And then she tries to blame Hannah's injuries on a seizure.
What caused that?
What accident caused this?
She fell in the door and hit the concrete step.
When?
Thursday morning.
Walking into the house?
Yes.
Tell us about it. Take us through it.
Details.
So when I opened up the door, she was coming through and she slipped on that concrete step and the metal part. She hit the metal part on her eye. And so I got her back up and she stood up and looked up at me and did say, "I want donut and couch," and then collapsed.
We appreciate you being honest. I mean, it's an accident.
You called for help.
This is my fault. I should have protected her.
It's not
Should have let her fall. I should have been holding her.
It's not your fault. What's the difference in this injury
Because
and the one you were there for both of
I know,
them?
because
If you
I feel
thought this one put her in the hospital,
I didn't.
why
I
were
thought
you hiding the
Wednesday.
fact
I
that-
didn't. I thought Wednesday did because she snapped
You
her away.
that's
Still, you're under
you
your-
own this one. You said this one happened when you were watching her, okay? You
Why
called for
lie?
help. Why lie about this one, about her falling?
Because I thought it was, because I thought it was my fault, and I thought she was having a seizure, and I didn't want Jason to be mad at me, that she slipped and fell, and I wasn't holding her, and I was trying to grab her blanket from her,
Here's the thing.
and I thought it was my fault that she was having a seizure. I thought she was having a seizure. I was scooping at her mouth.
It's an odd story, but there's an even more shocking confession. Partin admits to slapping Hannah after she allegedly squirted ketchup into a toilet.
How does this happen?
I slapped her upside the head.
With what?
My hand.
Open, closed?
Yeah, open.
And what caused that?
She took all of the, I don't know why she was in trouble. She took all the ketchup out and squirted it into the toilet while I wasn't looking.
That's frustrating.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. What else had she done that day? Is this like a culmination of things building up?
She did.
What day was that?
Was it last week? This week?
This week, early this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't think that hurt her. I really.
It's not a fall. And you know what caused this. Just like you knew what caused this. Okay? So what caused this?
I smacked her on the chin. for doing the ketchup. That was the same thing. When I caught her doing the ketchup, you know, I took it away and I put her on the potty because I think she had to go pee anyway. I said, Hannah, you can't do the ketchup. I just slapped her on the side of the head and went like that.
Close.
Yeah, like that.
How many times? Don't say once.
Yeah,
Is it because the bruise?
yeah.
Okay. Does he give you permission to discipline?
Yeah.
I mean, spank and stuff? Okay.
I don't really spank. I don't even know why I was mad that
So
day.
these were close fists, like uppercuts?
Yeah.
Okay. And this was an open-handed smack? Was it really open-handed?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Now, the bruises on the chest.
Honestly.
Listen.
No, I believe you.
Do you see the pattern here?
Yes.
Deny.
How about this big one down here?
I did not touch her chest. I'm definitely telling you the most positive truth. I did not touch her chest.
So look.
But I was mad that day.
Let's see. Attorney Michel Bryant joins me to break it all down. Michael, I got a question for you. How is the defense going to do here? Really, what are they going to do with these inconsistent statements? How are they going to argue everything she just said?
I think the best argument for the defense is that the direct causation doesn't seem to exist. Yes, you can look at all these independent statements by the defendant and the denials and then fill in the blank with the various different injuries, but I don't know that there's enough yet to just connect one event to a serious injury. And because it's played out over so much time, and because Hannah died over a 10-day period, I think it makes it very difficult for the prosecution to just connect the dots.
So you're saying maybe she beat her, but maybe it didn't cause the death. I mean, is this why it's so important for Partin to take the stand? Because we believe she will take the stand in her own defense.
I think it's critical, and I think what's going to be as important, and it's still this, this big elephant in the room, is Dad. We have not heard from, we haven't heard much from him. All we know is that the cops ruled him out pretty early on. So if Partin takes the stand, she may be able to enlighten us as to the home life between Jason Weshey and his daughter.
I'm glad you mentioned the father. He's on the prosecution's witness list. He's planning to testify. What do you think he's going to say?
I would hope he does. I think even if what he's got to say is innocuous, yes, I would drop her off for work every day, her home life was pretty boring, and there's no evidence to contradict that, the jury needs to fill in those holes, because those holes, in my opinion, are the defense case.
You make a great point, because there's a lot that we just don't understand. I mean, how does a child just drop dead? And one of the things we also saw was the condition of the house where she and Jason Weshey lived, very dirty.
Bit of a flop house.
Bit of a flop house. I mean, we're all just trying to get answers to this, and I heard you on earlier on the network that we need justice for this girl to try and understand exactly what happened.
No doubt.
So hopefully we'll get more answers. Coming up, a man on trial for allegedly fatally stabbing a star basketball player to death, and he claims self-defense. We'll bring you those details. Plus, court is back in session in Michigan, where an ex-college president is wrapped up in a sexual assault scandal after she allegedly lied to police. That story after the break. Coming up this week on Law and Crime, we're going to take you inside an Iowa courtroom where a man is charged with fatally stabbing a college basketball player. Luke Van Hemert is charged with second-degree murder in the 2018 stabbing death of William Penn University basketball player Marquise Todd. Van Hemert claims he stabbed Todd in self-defense during a traffic-related incident. He's seeking immunity under Iowa's stand your ground law and says he should essentially be given the same legal leeway as defendants charged in Florida, which is another state with a stand your ground law. The judge in his case, though, says the state's laws are different and that Van Hemert has no legal argument. Jury selection begins tomorrow, and we'll bring you the live trial when it begins. An actress involved with a sex cult pleaded guilty in federal court today. Allison Mack, who was a regular on the hit TV series Smallville, entered a guilty plea to 2 counts, racketeering and conspiracy, for helping to recruit sex slaves through NXIVM, a purported self-help organization. Prosecutors argued that Mack forced women to have intercourse with the group's founder, Keith Raniere. Jury selection began today in the trial of Raniere, who faces multiple charges, including sex trafficking, conspiracy, and possession of child pornography. Mack herself is scheduled to be sentenced on September 11th. And court was back in session in Michigan today related to the Larry Nassar sex abuse scandal. A preliminary hearing for ex-Michigan State University President Lou Anna Simon continued after more than a month-long delay. Several witnesses took the stand to help determine whether the state has enough evidence to move forward with a trial. Prosecutors say Simon misled investigators about her knowledge of Larry Nassar's alleged conduct and investigations into his sexually inappropriate behavior with MSU athletes. Simon is charged with 4 counts of lying to police. Assistant General Counsel for MSU, Christine Moore, took the stand today. She describes a phone call she had with a sexual assault victim, and she said she passed the victim's claims up a chain of command.
Is it standard procedure for your office to interview sexual assault victims on the telephone?
No.
Okay, you didn't know this was a sexual assault victim, is that right? At the time you made that call?
That's correct.
Okay. Once you figured that out, what did you do?
I notified others about this claim.
Okay, who'd you notify?
The Office of the General Counsel, Michigan State University Police Department, and my boss, Paulette Granberry Russell.
So you called who?
Detective Valerie O'Brien, Christine Zako in the General Counsel's office, and Paulette Granberry Russell.
And why did you notify Detective O'Brien?
Because of the sexual assault nature of the claim.
And why did you notify Paulette Granberry Russell?
Because of the nature of the claim and that she was my boss and she wanted to be informed of that type of claim.
When you say that type of claims, what are you talking about?
A sexual assault or a serious complaint.
Was it was it the expectation you would call her on all of those type of complaints?
She wanted to know about sexual assault complaints.
Well, people definitely want answers there. Trial resumed today in a Florida courtroom where a man is accused of killing his daughter by throwing her off a bridge. John Johnchuk is accused of murdering Phoebe Johnchuk by tossing her into Tampa Bay. The question is whether the defendant is legally insane or whether he can be held criminally responsible. Prosecutors are trying him on charges of first-degree murder, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and aggravated fleeing and eluding officers. A psychologist testified today about what Johnchuk's mother told him, that the defendant would frequently change his behavior in order to manipulate her.
She indicated that Mr. Johnchuk could be nice when he wanted to get something, primarily money, but would very rapidly have very rapid mood swings where the niceness would turn into anger, particularly if he didn't get the money or didn't get his way. So she described him as frequently setting her up by, trying to sweet talk, for lack of better terms, to get what he wanted, but frequently return to anger and just very negative type of relationship. And then again, she indicated that he would often put on a good show. So she described a personality that was not real authentic, put on a good show to get what he wanted from her, but then just use her for the money.
And then things took a dramatic turn. Johnchuk's defense team moved for a mistrial after the doctor's testimony and said that any mention of prior bad acts in Johnchuk's past are inadmissible.
This time, the defense is moving for mistrial. The last, I'm not certain how many minutes of Dr. Burston's testimony, but specifically regarding uncharged prior bad acts. He indicated that there were 7 to 8 in-school suspensions, that he was suspended for fighting, that he had disruptive behavior in school, that he was let go. There was a specific note regarding a specific instance that he was let go from a previous employer, being Humana, because he didn't show up. He testified that the last year he spent all of his money on drugs. He indicated that he defaulted on loans on the condo, which, well, I guess we're not even getting into the truthfulness of any of this yet, but that he defaulted on loans regarding the condo, that he indicated he had a check machine, that he was printing fraudulent checks, defrauded his mother out of a lot of money, that he used Phoebe's money for drugs, that his roommates describe having a very difficult situation with him, that his mother describes that he's nice when he wanted to get something, but he was described him as setting him up to get things. He would play nice to get what he wanted, and then would become angry and negative, that his personality is not authentic, that he puts on a good show to get what he wants. All of these are inadmissible. The state has not provided any line of cases that would suggest that this does come in by filing an insanity defense. We believe that all of those individual things require curative instructions. They all came in. We didn't have any curative instructions. This is a character assassination. We're moving for mistrial. Okay.
All right, Michel Bryant's joining me again to break it down. Trial continued. I mean, what do you think here? Should it have been a mistrial? Is the defense right?
Well, I think the defense is very right. If I had been sitting next to her at the defense table during that series of events from this doctor, her shins would be black and blue. I'd be kicking her. Hey, make an objection or two here.
Right.
Now she's trying to make, through this mistrial motion, about 20 objections that probably should have been made during the course of this expert's testimony. Remember, an expert can rely on things that are not normally admissible. Some hearsay here and there, maybe some bad act behavior testimony, but you can't go off the rails like this doctor did without objection.
Michael, I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of weird things going on in this trial, and I know the judge herself has been kind of criticized for some of the rulings and statements she's made. If he's ultimately convicted, do you see grounds for an appeal?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is huge. This is so big because remember the ultimate decision at appeal is it a harmless error or is it reversible? Harmless, is something much more minor. This is over and over again things that should never have been in front of this jury. And the appellate court would have to say, hey, she didn't object to them, to totally ignore it. And I don't see them doing that.
The judge at one point today said, hey, listen, if I'm wrong and he gets convicted, you can move for a new trial.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a judge say that before.
She's pretty low key, yes.
Well, let me ask you this. There's a danger, I'm curious, where we are right now in this case, do you see grounds for a mistrial in the sense that the jury might be split? This seems like a tough case on insanity.
It could be hung. There's no doubt it could be hung, which I think would be a victory because proving insanity, which is the defense has to do, is a tough one. I mean, it happens in 1% of any cases that it ever happens to be argued. So, yes, I think a hung jury is possible and be a good thing for the defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I look at the evidence on both sides. Is it real mental illness?
How do you pinpoint insanity? How do you do that?
That's the tough part.
That's it.
Michael, I'm not exactly sure, but we'll have to see. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching the Daily Debrief tonight. Join us again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Our live coverage begins at 9 a.m. Eastern. Until then, have a great night. Thanks for joining us.